Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to my unscheduled broadcast today. I thought I'd come and give you someone a little bit special. And as you can see from down the bottom here, we've got Douglas Vermeeren. And he's coming in and he's going to give us an hour of his time because he's absolutely amazing. And he's going to come to the Empowerment Weekend. And we thought we'd talk about passive income. We talk about the Empowerment Weekend. So let's bring him on. Because at the end of the day, this is the person you've come to see today. So here we go. There he is. Woo, woo. Hi, Doug. How are you doing?
Excellent, excellent. Hello, all the way from Canada today.
Absolutely, and it's on a Saturday morning for him, so it's very much that, you know, we've got lots of people in the house. So it's absolutely brilliant. We can do all that. We can handle it. We're tough.
We're gonna have fun. We're gonna have fun.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, so let's go through a little bit. So let's tell the ladies and gentlemen who you are. So basically, this is your life. So let's go a little bit about you. You're featured on Fox, CNN, Fox Business, ABC, NBC, and loads of others. You know, just name. I might as well just name all the channels, really. You've also been on TV and on radio and in the papers and magazines, and you've basically just put yourself everywhere, which is absolutely
brand new one that just came out. This one just came out this week.
Fantastic. So make sure you get that, guys, if you're over in Canada. And is it over the UK as well?
I think this is just a Canadian magazine, but there's another magazine I was on the cover of this month as well that's online, and it's the Law of Attraction magazine, and I think that's available for everybody, but I'm on the cover of that. I think they actually used a similar picture, but yeah, Law of Attraction magazine has me on their digital edition, so anybody can access that this month.
That's your professional picture. That's your...
I don't know if it's professional. I try to, as you guys get to know me, you'll see I'm a little bit silly. I mean, there I look somewhat serious. It's kind of funny because for the longest time I had people telling me that, when I'd get to a studio or something to go on a television show or whatever, they'd take a look at me, they'd look at my headshot, they'd look at me and they'd say, "You don't look like this guy," because my pictures are always serious, but me, I'm always kind of a fun guy and all that thing. So I don't know. I got to get some different pictures maybe that make me look a little bit more approachable and not so nasty, right?
Perhaps what I'll do then is on the Empowerment Weekend, we'll take some pictures of you just doing funny poses and stuff. And
sure.
Yeah. We'll post those out.
Hey, I see Deborah's on. Hey, Deborah.
Yeah.
We actually connected in Las Vegas recently, Deborah. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, Deborah's absolutely lovely. I love Deborah. I've met Deborah a couple of times now, and she's amazing. So I'm glad you've joined, Deborah. I'm sure you'll be asking your questions to Douglas today. Right, okay, so let's go a little bit more about your life. So we've gone through that side of it. Now, you've also been featured in New York Times, Money Magazine, The Ink, also Fortune, Forbes, Huffington Post, again, all of them. You just get yourself around, don't you? Your brain is spot on. Now, you've also, you said about the media refers you as the modern day Napoleon Hill. Explain to the people who that is, because you'll get people like me that, yeah, okay, we can understand that, but you'll get some people that don't actually know who that person is.
I'm prepared.
Love it.
I guess the long and short of it is to kind of share my story of how it worked. And first of all, maybe to tell you what this book is. For those of you that haven't read it, here's your homework officially. This is probably, I would say, undisputably the #1 personal development book of all time. And the way that Napoleon Hill wrote this book, which came out in the mid-1930s, he actually went out and he interviewed more than 400 of the world's top achievers in his day. People like Andrew Carnegie, Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, the Rockefellers, the Wrigleys, like all the who's who. It's like kind of, if you were comparing it today, we're talking like the Richard Bransons and the Mark Cubans and the Sir Alan Sugar and all these kind of guys, right? So he went out and he interviewed these people with the intention to basically unlock what was the formula or secrets behind success and how success is created. And so the interesting thing, like kind of how this now came into my life, how it fit. Hey, there's Michelle. Hey, cool. Nice. So this book kind of changed my life. Like what happened is, I was raised in a lower income family. My parents weren't wealthy at all. My father worked in construction. My mom babysat kids in our home, and not a few. We're talking lots of kids. And so they had to do that to make ends meet. And even then it was a struggle. I remember even up until my high school years, I was wearing hand-me-downs and everything else. And so my parents taught me their version of work smarter. Now you've heard that, work smarter, not harder. Well, their version of work smarter was actually to work harder. That's what it was. And
my parents did exactly the same with me. They said, you just work really hard to get what you need to get. And I was like, right, okay. And you look at it and you think, I'm shattered already.
Well, I call it the poverty pattern, right? what the poverty pattern is this paycheck to paycheck. You work, then you pay. You work and pay, work and pay, work and pay, work and pay. And that's the poverty pattern, right? And you're just kind of caught in that treadmill of work and pay, work and pay, work and pay. And you can't get off it because you don't know anything different, right? You don't know anything different to do. And so needless to say, I went to college and, just took out all the student loans that I could to make that happen. I was living on credit. I was definitely in a very difficult financial circumstance. In fact, I remember going, even into a supermarket like a Tesco's, but in the States, it's called Albertson. So I walked in there and I put down a jug of milk, a loaf of bread, and 4 little instant noodles. The total came to $4.22, and my card declined. I was so embarrassed, right? Like I had nothing. I was literally empty. And so I took a summer job selling pest control door to door, like knocking on doors. And, for anybody that's done that, like that's the quickest way to learn all about rejection because that's all you'll get, right? Like
I did that with double glazing.
Oh yeah, you get it, right? So,
I get it.
Yeah. So here I was in the hot California sun. I was out in Victorville, Hesperia, San Bernardino, areas like this. I was knocking on the doors and I was getting total rejection everywhere I went. And I was really ready to quit. Like, honestly, I couldn't see how this was going to help me. I couldn't see how it was going to work for me. And so I was just on the verge, literally, of throwing up my hands and going home. And at that moment, I had a family friend come in and give me 2 books. One of them was Think and Grow Rich. And now here's the thing is I had never heard of personal development before. I had never heard of, any of these people like Tony Robbins, or I'd never heard of any of this stuff before. So when I got this book, I thought, this is really peculiar. So I started to read in it, and I was really, first of all, impressed by just what I could do by believing in myself, the things that were available to me if I understood the correct strategies to apply. And then the other part of this is I got really jealous, and I looked that Napoleon Hill had interviewed all these top achievers. And you've heard that saying that, we are really the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with, right? So here I was looking at Napoleon Hill. He's spending time with these amazing people like Henry Ford and Thomas Edison. And there's another saying that a friend of mine said. He says, if you hang out with 4 losers, you get to become the 5th. Yeah. And I didn't like that idea. I didn't want to become a loser in life. Yeah. I didn't want to have that. And so I decided right there that what I was going to start doing is up-leveling my network and the people that I hung around. And so I began to first start with people that I knew who were successful, and there was a handful of millionaires that I knew. So I started to ask them, how did you get to success? I started spending time with them and learning from them. And I'll never forget, one day, one of these millionaires, he said to me, he said, you've spent a lot of time with me now asking these questions. He says, there's one question you haven't asked me that's going to change everything. I said, well, okay, so what's that? And he says, you haven't asked me who else I know that you should talk to. So I began to now ask that of these successful people. Who else do you know that could teach me? Who else do you know that would help me? And by the time I was done, I'm just going to grab a picture here. It's kind of fun. We all have nice things in our office that are important to us. But by the time I was done, I started meeting some very influential people. And there you can see that's my wife and I with Oprah Winfrey. And so I got a chance to, I've got a couple other ones in here too, but I had a chance to meet everyone from Richard Branson to Mark Cuban to Warren Buffett, to Bill Gates to Donald Trump, although some people aren't really too keen on him at the moment. But, you name it, Richard Branson, like all of the biggest names in business and enterprise. And I started learning from them, and I started taking their advice and following exactly what they told me to do. Here's the deal is you've heard the saying that success leaves clues. Well, the truth of the matter is if you know what you want with clarity, you can find those clues. I have a saying that I teach our students, and that's that a goal that is specific and clear is attainable in the air. And so once you identify what you want, you can start recognizing those clues. And so, kind of what happened to me is I started implementing those strategies immediately. And some of the first things that changed immediately were my financial circumstance. I was a 19-year-old. I was broke. I was foolish. I didn't really know what I was doing at all about money. But suddenly with their influence and their ideas and their support and the opportunities that they helped me recognize and unfold, I was able to do $1.6 million in about 6 months, which is about $9,000 a day. Yeah. And I haven't looked back. Now, here's the thing that's interesting is that all of a sudden the media wanted to know, what was happening with the people that I interviewed. Like, what kind of things are Warren Buffett telling you? What kind of things are these guys telling you? And so I started to be invited on the media. And the first ones that I did were obviously local media, a lot with Canadian television, CBC, CTV and stuff. And then soon I was invited into American television. So I think it was about my second or third appearance on ABC that the lady said to me, she goes, "Well, you're kind of like a modern day Napoleon Hill." And I was like, that sounds pretty good, right? Like that's pretty cool. Thank you. And so we started to kind of share that here and there, and it just really caught on, and people really started to use that. Now, the interesting thing is what a lot of people maybe don't know, and we didn't really mention this in the interviews, is one of the things that I've also been involved in my schooling, what I went to school for was actually film production and screenwriting. So I was going to be in movies. I wanted to act in film and then make movies. And so at about that time, there was a little movie that had come out called The Secret. And maybe you've heard of it, right? Like I think everybody's heard of it. Well, what's interesting is I just happen to know most of those people because they were success interviews that I did. In fact, one of my best friends is John DeMartini. I already had known him prior to The Secret. Bob Proctor was another fellow that I knew. Actually, Bob wrote the foreword of my last two books. And so I knew all those guys before The Secret came out. So when The Secret was successful, I went ahead and I also made a film to follow up for that. And now I've made 3 films. We're working actually on 2 more right now. So I'll have 5 films out by the end of 2020. But 3 of them have now risen to be in the top personal development films of all time. And that first movie that we did, The Opus, this is what really got me massive recognition worldwide. Random House picked it up, and they did 23 languages worldwide. It features Jack Canfield, Mark Victor Hansen, Joe Vitale, Marcy Shimoff, Morris Goodman, Bob Doyle, all the big names, everybody. And so that was a really, really big film for us. And then what was interesting is I came back a few years later and did another film. And this film was, I think, maybe one of my favorites. Like, I mean, they're all good. Like, I love them all. But I love it for a specific reason. When I went out and I interviewed the 400 of the world's top achievers, I found that one of the things that the top achievers did and talked about and practiced that is not taught in most of the success books, because I was reading success books at the same time as I was doing the interviews. You know, the success books always talk about time management. They talk about goal setting. They talk about prioritizing. They talk about finding your why. They talk about, like, and all those are valuable things. But the one thing they didn't talk about was the power of gratitude. And so I found what that really meant in terms of creating prosperity and abundance partnered with gratitude. And so that was our second movie. And we had people like John Gray, who did Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. Bob Proctor was in that one. Marie Diamond from The Secret was in that one. Mary Morrissey and a handful of others. So those films really, really put me onto the map. And then kind of what led to where I'm at today, which is kind of funny, is the whole time I didn't really want to trade my time for money. So I started speaking and started, training and investing in businesses and doing all the same things that those original 400 top achievers taught me. And my income basically was, now 7 and 8 figures passively every single year. Like, I don't really work. I don't, I do what I want to do. I love teaching and speaking, so I do that. But I love a lot of other things too. Maybe we'll talk about that another time. But because I was able to build such a high passive income, a lot of people now wanted to know how to do it. And that's really what I started teaching. And then Money Magazine came along to me, and so did Forbes and Inc. But Money Magazine first, they said, listen, what you're doing is phenomenal. You're the #1 passive income coach in the world. And what's interesting is I said to the reporter from Money Magazine at the time, I said, well, how can you say this? Like, there's a lot of guys that are out there that are really good teaching passive income. And the thing that he said to me is he said, well, there's a couple things. Number one, you were doing passive income long before the internet. And most people nowadays suggest that passive income is created by building funnels and web pages and landing pages and all these kind of things. And that, passive income, we really understand is online and offline. It's existed since the beginning of the world, right? It's not a new thing, which is what most people kind of miss out on. And he said that, and the other thing that really puts you as #1 is you're actually doing it, and you were doing it before you started teaching it, which, unfortunately, and I hope I'm not going to get anybody jaded towards personal development, but my experience has been that the majority of the people who are highly successful in personal development made their money in personal development. And they've been practicing the fake it till you make it model since they started. And that really doesn't work, right? Like, why are you paying someone else so that they can learn from their mistakes to teach you what they've learned, right? And so, when I went out and I learned directly from the top 400 achievers in the world, I didn't have to reinvent anything. I just followed what they told me to do. I just did it, and my results were phenomenal. And you know, you can do it too. That's the cool thing about this. And there's really 5 areas that everybody will make money in for passive income. And that's going to be business, real estate, investment, intellectual property, or your ideas, or learning how to capitalize your network. And that's, I think, a lot of what we're going to talk about probably at the Yes event, right? Like, I'm going to give you guys some specific things that you can do in each of those areas. So who knows, maybe it's time for you to start becoming passively wealthy, right?
I'm just going to let you carry on. I'm just going to go for a break.
Oh, we have fun. But in a nutshell, that's, I can't remember what your question is. That's a long answer to the question of, like, how to become modern day, you know, I don't know. I mean,
right. Just let me know when you're done and take a break.
Yeah, we have fun. We have fun, right? And to be honest with you, you know, probably my funniest accomplishment, I just grabbed this off the corner of my desk, is because of passive income, I get to be the VIP of nothing. I don't really have to worry about
come back a little bit. That's it.
There, VIP of nothing. I don't have to do anything, right? I only do what I want to do, right? And so, yeah, like, I don't know. Like I said, back to the things that I kind of enjoy doing. You know, we're the primary caregivers of my grandkids. So I've got a 4- and 5-year-old here that are absolutely my life. And so one of my favorite things is I get to take them to school every day. I get to go to Christmas concerts. I get to go to Halloween parties. That's really cool. My wife and I also like to go on holidays and travel. So I do that a lot. Like, that's what I want to do. Something that's really strange, a lot of people don't know about me, is I also do competitive mixed martial arts. So, you know, I mean, when you have the freedom where you're not trading your time for money, or your time for your efforts, or your time for your opportunities, or your brilliance, you can then explore your greatest potential, right? And I think this is a big thing that a lot of people really kind of miss. Like, there's a really good book, by the way, that was the basis for the movie The Secret. Some of you have heard of it before, called The Science of Getting Rich. Okay, there was a book by Wallace D. Wattles, came out in 1910. So in the book, Wallace D. Wattles said, whatever may be said in praise of poverty, the fact remains a person's not truly successful until they are rich. And what I believe he means by that is that we can have success in all areas of our life. You know, we can have good relationships with our family. We can have good self-esteem and self-worth and connection to, you know, things of a spiritual nature. We can be really healthy and all that. But if we don't have overflowing abundance, I don't believe we can really reach our fullest potential. Because if you look at everything in life nowadays, it's kind of like what Zig Ziglar said. He said, some people think money is not important, but it really ranks up there with oxygen, right? Like, everywhere we go, there is a ticket you must pay. If you want to, you know, explore your greatest self in the realms of travel or giving back or legacy or helping other people, it requires that you have to have some sort of a foundation to be able to gift that from. Yeah. And so, you know, I'm not saying that passive income means that you've got to sit on a beach and that you've got to, you know, hit one button and everything comes together and you're there sipping margaritas while life goes on. You know, I mean, quite frankly, you know, anybody who knows me will say that, you know, when I get onto a beach, I love the beach. I love to scuba dive. I love doing that stuff. But after about 3 or 4 days, I need to get back and do something, right? Like, I'm just a creative person that way, where I have to contribute. So, you know, passive income doesn't mean that you're sitting on a beach. Passive income means you get to make the choice. And for some of you, it will mean, like, if you've got a business, if you're an entrepreneur and, you know, you've got ideas to grow your business by hiring people, by marketing, by expanding to new territories, by developing new products and everything else. Well, passive income basically means you have the free ticket to do all that stuff without having to worry about the financial element of it, right? So I think that's really the biggest gift of passive income. By the way, just one other thought that I think is really kind of important is, I think a lot of people understand passive income incorrectly. You know, passive income is actually leveraged income. What that means is we use a system, we use a tool, we use a vehicle to create income. It's not free money for doing nothing. It's that we understand a system that generates money when we're not there. So then, in other words, what we do for a living isn't what we do to provide income, right? Our living and our income are 2 different choices that we make. And I think it's a big problem with most people. And I've got some paper here just to kind of show you something that I also think is maybe a shame when it comes to passive income, because it's not really well understood.
It's always good to let these guys know.
Yeah, it's not super well understood. So if we say, and I apologize, my writing's really, really messy. It's funny, I lived in China for a year. I didn't have to be anywhere, and I think it affected my writing. But anyways, so here we go. This says passive income, right? Okay, it says passive income. But the truth of the matter is I believe that the word income should come first, right? Because when you understand how to make the income and you understand the systems that generate the wealth, then all of a sudden your life can become passive as a result, meaning that you don't have to be involved. And that passive income requires an active beginning. So you will have to do something at the beginning. It's kind of like that old saying that says, if we pay now, we get to play later with interest. But if you play now, you have to pay now a heck of a lot more. And so we need to understand that really the foundation, what my mentors taught me when I now teach my students and people just like you how to build, passive income freedom, it's that there is some work to do up front. There are some things that you're going to have to put in place. But once they are in place once, you get paid on them forever and ever and ever and ever. And there's so many opportunities that you can add to that so that that payment that you've got continues to grow as well. And that's the fun thing about this all, it's so exciting to me. I love it.
Absolutely. And I completely agree with you. Oh, I can hear myself. Let me turn the volume down a bit. Have you got your volume up really high as well?
I'm not sure. No, it's about midway. I can adjust it.
Turn mine down to 11.
Like I'm yelling.
It's like screaming. I'm trying to go further back as I can, so I'm not getting feedback. So we talk about obviously your life and what you've gone through, and people can see exactly what when we're talking about the reasons why you've been in Forbes magazine, the reasons why you've been on TV, the reasons why you've got to where you have. But what made you go into what you're doing? I mean, did it come down to you? You said that your dad was in construction, your mum was a childminder. Was it the fact is that life was bad, that you thought, I don't want to be like this? Or was it the fact is that you just got yourself out there and said, you know what, it's a challenge, I want to do it, I want to help people? What was your why?
You know what? I guess it's kind of funny because I can give you the polished why and tell you, oh, and that'll make me all sound wonderful. And
we do raw on this one. Everything's raw.
I'm going to say, get rid of that. Let's be authentic for a minute.
Yeah.
The truth of the matter is I did not do well in school. So I had no idea what I was going to be able to do. In fact, if the truth be known, I wasn't very good at maths, especially. And I decided I wouldn't even take the final exam that year because I already knew I would fail. So I fell asleep out in my car. So I didn't do anything like that. I was not a good student at all. I was one of these people that daydreamed so much that was really my life rather than my real life. And so I didn't know what I was going to do for a career. I didn't know what choices were. And my parents, of course, they feared the worst. And so when I started doing these interviews with the top 400 achievers, kind of what happened to me by accident is someone came to me and said, would you be interested to come and speak to our group? We've got a small group of people. And would you be willing to come in and just tell them some of the things that you've learned? And I had been like, I've never public spoken in my life. I don't know what to do. He says, well, what you do is you simply take a little, index card, write a few points on and come up there and talk. Well, what's funny is I started talking to this group and I forgot I had the index card in my pocket. And I just was having fun telling them about the experiences of meeting people like a Donald Trump or hanging out with, a Richard Branson and the things that I learned. And this was before everybody, by the way, posted a picture of them with Richard Branson, right? This was in the 90s, right? So, I fell in love with that idea of speaking. And at the end, what was funny is I didn't know what to expect, but I had people come up to me and they asked me, do you have a program for sale? I'm like, what's a program? Right? Like, I have no idea what do you mean by a program? Like a television show that we do or something? Or like, I just was totally lost. Right. And then I also had other people at that same event say, we'd love for you to come and speak to our group. And so I started thinking about this, is this like something people do? Like, is this, And so I went back to some of my mentors, and thank goodness I didn't know any speakers at the time, because the truth of the matter is most speakers are broke, right? And in fact, there's a statistic that I recently read that said 1 in 450 speakers can actually do it full time. The majority of them have a part-time gig that they're doing. And so I didn't know anything about speaking. I didn't know any speakers. So I turned to some of my mentors. In fact, one of them was one of the founders of FedEx. His name was Frank McGuire. He was actually the former VP of marketing for all of American Airlines, all of KFC at one time. He worked in the White House under Lyndon B. Johnson and JFK. This guy was amazing. He was at ABC television when it came from radio to television. So he was an older gentleman. And so I said, these people are asking me to come and speak. And he had done lots of keynotes before too. So he suggested to me how to build a speaking business. And that immediately made me another $1 million, which was pretty cool. So what I found, which was interesting, is that, in my first Well, this is kind of weird to think about. And I don't mean this in any disrespect, but even some of the greats like Tony Robbins and Zig Ziglar and all these guys, they never made $1 million in their first year speaking. But I did it in like three or 4 months, I think it was, something like that.
So what do you think that you've done so differently compared to what they did?
I followed the instructions of people who are richer than me. It's simple, right? Like, here's the deal. Actually, here's a funny story for you. When I was a young man, you know, still around the 18, 19 years old, as I was doing these interviews, I had one of the mentors tell me, you know, you got to start investing in life and start doing things. And maybe you want to own your own business, because he had told me, I still remember the stat, he said 84% of all self-made millionaires come from owning a business. So I said, business. Okay, what could I do as a business? I started thinking about this. So I wrote out a business plan and I brought it back to him. And I'll never forget that as I gave him this business plan, here you go, he kind of looked at it and he's like, ooh, you might want to change that. And so instead of me saying, oh, great idea, let's change that, I said to this millionaire, I said, no. This is why I'm doing this. And I try to explain my reason for doing this, right? And he kind of just shrugged and, okay, kept reading through, and he goes, you might want to change this here too. So right away I was like, no, this is why I'm doing this. And he kind of looked at it again and goes, okay. Finally, he found another thing. He's like, oh yeah, this isn't going to work. And I was like, no, wait, this is why I'm doing this. Finally, he stopped me and he said, listen, you can be right or you can be rich. And then he explained to me, he says that the reason why most people aren't rich is they think they have all the answers. The people who are rich actually let go of their ego and they go to learn. And so he began to explain that if you choose to hang on to your ego, to be right and say, I have all the answers and I'm good where I am. The funny thing is, we've heard the saying, if you always do what you've always done, you're always going to get what you've always gotten, right? And so he explained to me that your next 2 years is going to look exactly like your last 2 years. And all the struggles that you're experiencing now are going to follow you. See, the problem is that most people make their decisions based on where they are, not on where they want to go. So in other words, if someone comes to you with an opportunity, you say, well, I don't have enough money, or I don't have enough time, I don't have enough knowledge, or I don't have enough of blah, 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 right? But the truth is if you want more, you have to have a new decision, because decisions affect our future, not where we are. We're already there. So if we say, I don't have enough money, so therefore I can't make a decision, you'll always not have enough money. If you want to have something more than you've already got, it's time for a brand new decision. In fact, one of the sayings that I also tell our students in one of the trainings we do called Personal Power Mastery, the saying is, if you want to expand what you have, you begin by expanding who you are, which means that you have to step outside of that idea of I can't, I won't, I don't have enough, it's the situation, blah, 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 blah. No, you need to take the leap of faith. You need to stretch beyond where you are. It's like going up a ladder. You can't go higher on the ladder until you reach for a higher rung. If you stay exactly where you are every time, you'll never change. And so when that mentor told that to me and said, listen, you know what, you can be rich or you can be right, I really decided in my life that, you know, it's funny because I was just on an interview yesterday with a person on the radio here in North America. And she said to me, what's the scariest moment in your life? You know, what's the thing that gives you the most fear? And as I thought about that, I actually thought, the truth of that question is every day I do something like that. Every day I'm looking to do something I've not done before, right? So what's the scariest moment? Truth of the matter is it's yet to come, because every day there's another scary moment. And I'm not saying that I succeed every time, right? Like no one does, right? But we take 3 steps forward and 2 steps back. And that's how we become wealthier, and that's how we progress, right? So we've always got to be looking for what can we do more. Now, it's something interesting too. Oh, hey, Stephen, good to see you. Here's something else. I'm just going to give you a little insight on this idea, because I don't want to, Alima, nice. I want to kind of give this in a context that's going to empower you and that's going to give you value. You see, too often people also say, to become successful, I need to get out of my comfort zone. I need to step way beyond the things that I'm, doing. And I'm going to say that that's not entirely true either. In fact, if you look at Think and Grow Rich, one of the things that Napoleon Hill shares that was definitely true with all the top achievers that I ever interviewed is they talked about, like, I think it's chapter number 4 is specialized knowledge. Meaning we become an expert in something. The riches are in the niches, if you pronounce it that way, right? You go deep, and that's where the success is. So I'm not going to say get out of your comfort zone to become wealthy. What I'm going to say is, because there's some things I'm not comfortable with, right? Like I don't do my own dental work. I don't cut my own hair. I don't, there's lots of things I don't do for myself because I'm just not good at it. And it would take too long to learn it. But what I do is I find my brilliance zone. What is it
what
I
you're
am
good
really,
at.
really good at?
Yeah.
What am I really, really good at? And that's where I get uncomfortable. In fact, one of my success interviews that was really, really fun for me, because I interviewed a lot of Hollywood actors and famous people as well. One of them was Edward James Olmos. And some of you might know him from Battlestar Galactica on the Sci-Fi Network. He was Commander Adama. He was also on the original Miami Vice. He was in the TV show Green Hornet as the publisher, you remember. He was in Blade Runner. I mean, his credits go on and on and on. So anyways, I'm sitting with him for lunch, and I asked him, I said, what's your definition of success? And, you know, I'd asked this question of so many people, but this was the best answer ever. He said, you know, some people think that success is doing something that you don't like to do, right? Like we do what we don't want to do. We swallow the hard pill and that gets us success. And he says, that's not success at all.
Yeah,
eat the frog. I'm careful to say that because Brian Tracy is actually one of my really good friends. So that's his book title, right? Remember?
Oh, okay.
So,
yeah.
But everybody says that. By the way, funny enough, one of my first real big speaking events was introducing Brian Tracy. And I was actually part of his iLearning Global faculty. So yeah, Brian and I have been friends for years. But anyways, needless to say, back to the story. So what he said is, he said, success isn't doing the things that are hard. He said, success is finding something you love and then doing it when it's hard. And I thought that was really profound, because here's the deal is every one of us here, including all of you people who are right now dialed into this broadcast and are going to watch it later and are out at the event, you've got gifts, you've got talents, you've got abilities, you've got things that you can do that no other person on the planet can do to the ability that you can or to the capacity that you can. You've got something to give that no one else is equipped for. You are the unique solution, okay? Now here's the challenge is that most of the time we know what we're gifted at, but life gets hard and so we don't pursue it. We look like, you know, if you wanted to be a professional athlete, for example, there's just too much practice time. There's just too much effort. There's too many other people competing against me. There's too many things. We always look at the negative, right? And if you want to know the difference between the rich and the poor, like the quickest, easy way to say it, rich look for opportunity, poor look for obstacles. It's that easy, right? Rich look for opportunity, poor look for obstacles. So you've got to decide if you're going to really go after your brilliance. You've got to be willing to do what it takes, even in the difficult times. And if you persevere, you will soon become the one who's sought after for that thing. And I know a lot of the people, like a couple of the faces that are in, that I've seen in the audience here are coaches and speakers. I do a lot of training with coaches and speakers who want to get to 7 figures and up. And one of the biggest things that I think most speakers and coaches lack is kind of what Stephen Covey said in 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, one of the most amazing books ever written. He said that public victories are always preceded by private victories, meaning that your success actually appears by what you do privately. So in other words, my question to you, whatever your expertise is, if you're a coach, if you're a speaker, or you're an entrepreneur in some other business, what are you doing daily that your marketplace is not doing? The other people there, your competition, right? You're not looking to compete. You're looking to complete. You're looking to find the answers that are missing. And that only comes in those private moments where you become the best. One of my recent events, like the Never Work Again that we just did in London on the 12th and 13th, that was the 12th and 13th of this month, I had a girl in it who wanted to be a coach. She wanted to be a life coach. And I called her out in front of everybody. And I'm sorry, sometimes, you know, the truth is what needs to be said. And I said, well, how many hours a day are you actually spending reading about the stuff you're coaching about? She goes, well, I don't really read every day. Then I said, you have no right to be teaching it. Because the truth of the matter is you need to be so invested in becoming brilliant in the area of your brilliance. Even when it's hard, you need to be qualified. You need to be the best in the room at it. You know, people ask me why I'm the #1 passive income coach. It's not just because I have made tons of money doing it and I can teach it. I'm reading every single day. I've got a stack of books right over here on what the marketplace is sharing. You need to be immersed in that conversation so you can become the best. Like I said, you're not there to compete. You're there to look at what everyone else is missing, and you're there to complete. You're there to go at a higher level, and that's what's going to make you in demand and make you valuable in whatever marketplace you're in. You know, I'm not even talking about coaching or speaking, anything that you do. Right? Because your customers, they don't walk into a room and they don't say, you know, where's the losers I can do business with? They want the best that their money can buy. And you need to become the best. And the more skilled you are at it, actually, even the more you can scale and expand, because you can now start training other people to do the same as your competition or better, because you're the one who's over them all. Right?
You've got to find your USP, haven't you? You've got to make sure that you are the best out of something that you're doing.
Well, I think here's the challenge too, and let's do a fun little diagram again. Paper time, paper time. One of the things that I thought was really kind of interesting is one of my mentors told me this idea of USP. Another comment that's often given in the marketplace is people say you got to find your passion and your purpose. If you're going to be valuable to the marketplace, you got to find your passion and purpose. So here's circle one: P and P, passion and purpose. Let's see. Okay, I gotta go this way to make it passion and purpose. And a lot of us have heard this before. If you're going to become successful, you've got to find your passion and purpose. Well, you know what's kind of interesting is as I've chatted with so many of the world's wealthiest people, I gotta be careful I don't cuss because I get passionate about this. They say that is a load of garbage. Okay, this idea of focusing on your passion and purpose to be successful is a load of garbage. In fact, there's a really cool quote by Warren Buffett that says this: what you love about you is your hobby. What others love about you is your business. So here's what we got to do, guys. Your passion and purpose, actually, if you're going to become valuable, needs to overlap the passion and purpose of other people, right? And this is the sweet spot where your money is going to be made, where your validation is going to come, where everything happens. You see, if you are just going to all by yourself create my passion, my purpose, and if you build it, they will come kind of thing, right? It's never going to happen. But if you recognize those that you can serve that have the same passion and purpose of what you're capable of delivering and where your skill sets are, you're going to find that overlap will be where everything happens. If you think about every transaction, meaning financially in life, requires two people, a buyer and a seller. And if you're just a seller saying, come, no one's interested. But if you got a buyer that kind of gets you and they resonate with you and they figure it out, what do they say? If they get your vibe, they'll become your tribe. So all of a sudden, you guys will intersect, and that's where things are going to happen. And I also find, just as a simple example with this, I always am amazed when I hear of people who are going to write a book, right? They say, oh, it's time for me to write a book, right? And by the way, this is one of my latest books. It's called Passive Income Millionaire. It just came out. You can get it at Passive Income Millionaire book right now for only $5. Boy, that was a plug, wasn't it? Anyways, Passive Income Millionaire book. Go pick it up. $5. Anyways, here's the deal. When I go to write a book, I'm a little different than most authors. Like many of the authors find themselves in a corner, they get a secluded hotel room or something, and they think, I'm going to write my book in the next 36 hours or whatever. I'm not leaving this room until this book is written, and they do it in isolation. Then what happens is they go and they either, if they're lucky, get a publisher. If they don't, they self-publish, or they use a small publisher or one of these book coaches, and they publish their book through them. And then all of a sudden, they've got a box of books in the garage, and they never move. Like the books just sit there in the garage. That's all they do, right? And the truth of the matter is, why does that happen? Well, it's because they have focused on their own passion and purpose in writing the book. So when I write a book, I do it a little differently. What I do is I approach my audience and I ask them, what would you like to learn? What are the biggest problems that you're trying to encounter with this particular issue? I'll even ask them questions. I'll survey them. And I'll ask, even as I'm writing a new chapter, it's funny, you can always tell when I'm writing a book by just reading my social media, because I start asking questions. And what the audience talks about, where this passion and purpose is connected, that's what I write about. You don't care about, the stuff I'm interested in. You care about the stuff you're interested in. And what's really kind of interesting with that idea is, as I've done that, like even with this book, in the first, goodness sakes, couple of days, we sold several hundred thousand copies of it right off the bat, just because people were interested in what I had to say. It was my audience that was already there, and I had people even buy them for their friends. I had network marketing companies buy them by the caseload and the bucket load. And actually, it's really funny. One of my first books, I got paid on it $35,000 before I even wrote it, because I just knew the right questions to ask. And then I wrote the book that they wanted. I mean, they're the customer, right? You're not writing a book for you to read it. You're not writing a book for your own mental health or therapy, right? It's so funny. I was at an event not too long ago, and this is a classic example of doing this wrong. I'm not going to mention any names, but this poor lady, she was up there talking very skillfully about building LinkedIn profiles, like profiles on LinkedIn. And she was clever. She was really smart. I took a lot of notes. She was a good lady. But at the end, when she said, you can go ahead and you can come to my LinkedIn workshop that I'm doing, and I'll give you my book on how I survived cancer as a single mom, everybody's like, how does that fit with LinkedIn, right? So she's giving us this book, obviously her story. I'm sure it's dramatic. I'm sure it's challenging. And I don't want to belittle that somebody's gone through cancer or that they're a single mom. But the truth of the matter is, the audience doesn't connect with that when they're there to purchase a LinkedIn program from you. So we've got to remember that congruency in your brand is a massive part of creating wealth, and you just really need to understand how to do that. Anyways, that was a way tangent, but just remember this, right? Just remember this. That's where you're going to be rich.
There's nothing wrong with tangents as long as it's good information to give out, and that's exactly what you've been doing. That's the reason why I've just let you go with it, because you know the amount of information you're giving over is things that people want to hear.
Sure.
So,
well, you know, I'm excited about the Yes Conference coming up because I've got some really cool things planned. Brad and I have been chatting, and I'm so grateful that he's included me in the program. He is such a stellar guy. You guys are really lucky to have him as the organizer of this event, and I'll certainly be excited to support anything he does in the future as well. I'll tell you, you know, we've got me speaking on Sunday, and Brad says he's got some sort of thing going on Saturday that I'm not sure. It's a surprise.
Yeah.
But yeah,
too much information, Doug.
But I will tell you on Sunday when I come and I speak there, I'm going to share some really profound and interesting things that you can apply immediately. Brad, he just wrote, "Love you too, Doug." But I'm going to tell you, nice. But I'm going to tell you what I do share on the Sunday will be wealth strategies. I love what you just written, wealth strategies that the most wealthy use. That's a good way to talk about it. I'm not talking theory here. I want some stuff that you can actually do. And the one thing that I find with a lot of the wealth events that are out there is they're always talking about these mammoth changes that you need to make, and then suddenly you're a millionaire. That's not the way it works, folks. It happens one step at a time, and even with passive income, I'm telling you, it's kind of like if I were to share with you how it really works, what's going to happen in your life is you're going to build one income stream. That's how you're going to start. And that first income stream may give you an extra 50 or 100 pounds per month, may give you 200 per month. Who's to say? But here's the deal. It's free money. And we've got to recognize that that starts now offsetting how much we really need to be financially free. Then you're going to learn how to build another one, then another one, then another one, then another one, then another one. And you've got all these passive income streams that now begin to overlap each other. And as each one of those begins to drop, you know, an extra 200 here and 300 there and 500 there, suddenly you're going to start seeing that you've got 10, 20,000 coming in every month. That's how it happens.
So how many streams would you, sorry, Dar, how many streams would you say normally that the general person should have to make sure they've got a decent income coming in that's passive enough to, you know, sit?
Well, that's kind of an odd question, because there's research that's been done that says that the average millionaire has 7 streams of income, but that's a bit deceiving. And the reason why I say that is millionaires, we like to double dip. So in other words, one stream may not technically provide one form of income. So for example, I've got investments that, by the way, passive income, maybe to set the question up even better, comes in 3 forms. It's create. That's the guys who are creating a stream that pays them money every single day, right? The other kind of passive income is what I call rebate, which is, again, money that's like income means anything that's coming to you, right? Income means anything that's coming to you. So the rebate and create. So create is stuff that you're going to make. Rebate is stuff that you're going to do out of habitually. So let's say that you've got, you know, a credit card that gives you points, air miles that gives you points, the airline ticket thing that gives you points, the movie ticket or the movie card that gives you points, all those things. All of those are a form of rebate passive income. Now, by the way, no other passive income coach is talking about this either. You need to understand this. And by the way, one of my UK students just told me the other day, this is hilarious, that she actually got 300 pounds worth of groceries for free based on some redemption and coupon stuff that she did. That's still income, folks. So we need to understand that passive income really just means kind of living for free. If that's free money, we'll take it. That's what we're going to do. Okay. And then there's the final way, which is what we call preservation, which means how do we preserve the income we have, protecting it from things like taxes or interest charges or what have you. In fact, one of my other students, this is someone in Las Vegas area, came to me and they brought all their credit card statements the other day for me to look at because they're in my one-on-one coaching program. By the way, don't ask about my one-on-one coaching program. I'm really expensive and there's a big long line to get onto that. How expensive, you ask? Right now, we're charging $250,000 to be with me for one-on-one coaching, and I've got a 3-year waiting list. So this guy here is in that.
Unless you interview you, then obviously I can just get in the cracks.
Well, I mean, it's like taking the millionaire to lunch. You're going to learn some tidbits, but you're not going to change your life. Okay. Like it means a relationship, right? Like you really need a relationship to become wealthy. Yeah. So you need to keep going again and again, right? Yeah, that's it. Like, you know, and even with my one-on-ones, we're meeting like once a week, right? So anyways, this guy, he brings me his credit card statements. And the thing that was astonishing to me is the interest charges. He had 3 cards, and each one of them had anywhere between an interest charge of about $200 per month interest charge which I think that's $2,400 a year he's throwing away, up to, I think the highest was $397, somewhere around there, for interest charges. That's 3 cards. So he's throwing close to, if we added them all up, I think it came to just under $10,000 a year throwing it away. Raise your hand if you'd like to do that every single year, again and again and again. Just take $10,000 and put it in the garbage can. Would you be willing to do that? No. And so we've got to understand that blocking those holes and shutting those down, whether it's through taxes or unnecessary interest or membership fees or things that we're buying that we will not use, will never be successful. Here's something, and I know a lot of the speakers out there won't like to hear this, but I'm going to tell you what you need to do to become wealthy. You need to contract before you expand, which means you need to cut off a ton of your unnecessary expenses. And that can mean sometimes, like for you seminar junkies, you're just spinning your wheels sometimes. You need to cut back, make some money, and then do it right. And then you can have everything you want. I'm not saying don't do that now or don't do that ever. I'm saying don't do that now. I'm saying take your time and build your foundation correctly by looking where you've got holes. It's kind of like, you know, maybe I'll do this. Actually, I'm not going to say this because I'm going to do it at Brad's event. I'm going to just put a note there because it's fun. I got a really cool visual example of how to share this, but you need to plug the holes before you can fill the bucket, right?
Before we start talking about the empowerment weekend, let's talk about 2 things, 2 strategies, or, you know, 2 things that you can do to build wealth quickly and effectively. What 2 things would you say?
Well, here's the challenge with that question is everyone has different skill sets, right? So if I say, oh, real estate's the way to do it, or investing is the way to do it, it might not be that way for you. Like I said, there's 5 ways or areas that wealth is built, either in business, real estate, investment, intellectual property, or capitalizing on your ideas, or your network. You need to, first of all, find which of those is the lowest hanging fruit for you. The thing with the wealthiest people that I know, and even myself, we don't look for things that are hard to do. Warren Buffett once said that the game of wealth is not like the Olympics. You don't get bonus points for doing something difficult, right? If something is easy and it still makes you money, you get the same reward as something that's hard that still makes you money. So you don't look for something difficult to do. You look for where your skill sets are. So going back to your question, if you have skills in business and you've got a business that's doing well, put more time and effort into figuring out how to make that more passive. In other words, eliminate yourself from it. And I'll show an equation on that Sunday when I'm there on how you can make anything more passive, including what you're doing right now. If you're good at real estate and that's something that you're excited about, do that. Like I've got one student that, no kidding, he thought real estate was the key to wealth for him, and he invested all kinds of money into real estate. And then he took something that we have called the money aptitude test, and he found that real estate wasn't really his thing. He found that it was investing. In fact, he found that collecting rents from people, especially people that were overdue, he had kind of a soft heart, so it was always difficult for him. And he would say, you can pay me later, or, you know, and then even maintaining the property in terms of the physical stuff like furnaces and toilets and all that stuff. He always had difficulty with that. But as soon as he got into understanding investing, and that's where his passion was, he just took off like a rocket. So I think that first step of finding out which of the 5 is where you belong is great. Now, I do all 5. I personally do all 5. But I don't do the heavy lifting always. Like in my real estate, I have others that do that for me. In my business, I have other people that work for me. I'm at home with the grandkids while they're making me my money. That's the best way to do it. And then the next, I guess, strategy that I'm just going to suggest is you need to have a system that is proven. That is really, really important. And I think too many people speculate. Like I love what Warren Buffett said one time. He says there's 2 rules to making money. The first is don't lose money. The second rule is never forget rule number 1. And I think too many people experiment with things and they try and reinvent the wheel, and they say success is thinking outside the box. I'm going to tell you it's not. Success is actually finding the right box to think in. It's don't think outside the box. You find a box that's already worked and you duplicate that. Now, the cool thing about this, and this is maybe going back to the event, is there's going to be a lot of people at this event that have the tools for the box. Like I can show you how to build passive income. I can show you how to make an extremely large amount of money with passive income. That's my box. That's what I'm good at. I'm not going to be able to teach you how to sing. I'm not going to be able to teach you how to ride a bike or do fancy tricks. Those aren't my skills. I don't have that. I'm not very good at those things, but I can teach you how to make money. That I'm really good at. So you need to find the right box to think in, and that includes finding the right people to support you with implementing that. We don't have enough time in the world to make all the mistakes. You also, I'm sure, want to be rich now. You don't want to wait till you're retired to be able to relax. It's too old by then, right? You know, I'm always amazed at these people who say, you know, when I get retired, I'm going to travel the world. Well, why would you wait? You know, it's interesting. We were recently at Chichen Itza, which is the pyramids in Egypt, right? Or not in Egypt, in Mexico, Chichen Itza. And there's old people that looked at it and said, wow, I really wish I could have climbed up those stairs. Well, they're too old to now, right? So they can just look, or they see the rest of us jump off a boat scuba diving, or they see the rest of us swimming in the cenotes, and they can't do it because they're too old. They dreamed their whole life to get there, but now that they're there, that opportunity's passed them by as well. So
let's
here's
talk about
the deal.
the empowerment weekend, Doug,
Yeah.
because, you know, we've got this massive weekend coming up, and you're coming, of course. Now, how many events would you say, that all the times that you've spoken, how many events are going to be like this with 45 international speakers that are coming from all across the world, that are coming in one big place and actually going to give as much content as you're giving to us tonight?
Well, that parking lot's going to be full, hey? I'll tell you, you know what? I don't know that I've been to an event like this before. I think this is the first one of this kind that I've been to. I've been to others where they've, you know, done a multi-day event and they've had other speakers and things. But I think, you know, hats off to Bradley for this one specifically, because he's been able to assemble, I think, some of the coolest people. Like, you know, Raymond Aaron is a good friend of mine. He's been in, you know, our films before. Alfie Best is a buddy of mine, and he's really outstanding and awesome. I mean, you know, you guys, Andy Harrington is awesome. You know, Andy is a superstar. You're going to love him. I mean, I feel bad because I'm now listing, but I'm going to miss people for sure, right? Like there's so many great people. There's people I'm excited to come and see. I'll tell you.
Who are you most excited? The top two people you're most excited to come and see?
Wow. Well, I'm always curious also even to know what I'm going to say, because you never know till it comes out, right? But, you know, I think I've got some students that are going to be speaking that I've seen in the program that I'm really excited to see them most of all. I mean, a lot of these big names I'm excited to.
That was a bit of a get out there, Doug.
What's that?
That was a bit of a get out there.
Yeah, but I guess let me maybe put it in this context, right? Like some of these big speakers and stuff, the bigger names, I've seen before, and I've shared the stage with them many times. And so I kind of, you know, I know them on a professional level, and I know kind of what they're going to share. But I do look forward, for me, at these events, mostly to the time I'm going to spend with them backstage. But the speakers I'm really excited to hear, and I know this is going to sound crazy, is some of these diamonds in the rough, these hidden gems that Bradley has discovered. And the reason why I think that they're maybe kind of going to be exciting is because I know that sometimes people don't always expect massive things from these speakers that are maybe not as visible yet. But I find sometimes when they surprise you, and there's some people that are just like stellar out of that group, it's like super refreshing, right? You find these guys that are just amazing. And by the way, I've got more movies that I'm doing. And so I'm also on the hunt always for these hidden gems. And I count on people like Bradley to kind of find these people so that I can approach them and get them into the movies as they're kind of becoming, let's call them personal development stars, so to speak, right? So I don't know. That's one of my favorite parts of these things, is just to find that. And by the way, one of the other things that I love to do, now I'm going to reveal my secret. There's only a handful of people now who are on this call, so the rest won't know. Hey, there's Sheldon just came on. Nice. One of the things that I like to do is I actually kind of sneak into the back of the room, and I'll just grab a seat and listen as though I'm a student. I don't need to tell anybody I'm a speaker. If I get a name tag that says speaker, I take that off and I hide it right away, and I just kind of play in the audience. And, you know, so you also never know as an audience member who you're sitting next to. And that's pretty cool. Actually, I met one of my friends who's an Academy Award-winning movie producer that way. I just sat down next to him and we started chatting, and it turned out he had produced and won some Academy Awards for some pretty big movies. So you never know who you're sitting next to. I think that's pretty cool.
Absolutely. And yeah, you know, what do you think that when people come there for that day and all the kind of speakers that are there, you know, there's so many different speakers there from all walks of life. What do you think they're going to get out of the weekend?
Well, here's the deal, is it kind of reminds me of a little story where there was a traveler coming down the road, and he saw this guy sitting on the side of the road, and he says to him, "What's this town like here that I'm coming up to? I'm thinking about staying at this town." And so the guy who's sitting on the log says, "Well, what's the town like from where you came from?" He goes, "I didn't like it. That's why I left. The people there were backbiters. They were grumblers. They were complainers. They were negative. He said, "Well, yeah, it's the same people who live here." Well, anyways, this traveler said, "Well, to heck with that." And he walked on. Well, the next traveler came up and, you know, he said, "Well, what kind of people live in this town?" Same question. "What were the people like where you came from?" Well, this guy says, they were great. I loved it. It was really sad to leave. I made a lot of good friends. I loved people there. And, you know, I wish I could stay. And he goes, that's exactly the kind of people that are here. So the moral of the story is, what are you going to get out of the event? Number one, it's going to be what you bring to the event. So if you think that, you know, the events that you've been to in the past are crappy and everything else, I invite you to have a change of heart, because that's your fault. That's your fault they've been crappy. And I want you to level up your thinking. I want you to come there prepared. I want you to bring a notebook. I want you to be there to learn, to take notes. You are going to be there to grow. You're there for yourself. And it's okay to be a bit selfish, that you're there as a taker to fill your cup so you can come back into the world to compete and to rise to a higher level. And in fact, even lead those in your life to a higher level, right? You become the standard, right? Don't let the other things around you influence you to determine what you're going to do with your life. You determine what you're going to do, and you set the pace. So I'm going to also encourage you one other thing. You know the speakers that are coming to some extent. You've seen them on the program. I'm going to invite you to take a look at their bios. I want you to, I love what Chris just said, inform to success. You need to, right? And as part of that, I'm going to say, put down some learning goals. So if you've got a guy like, say, for example, Raymond Aaron, and I don't know what Raymond's talking about, I suspicion he's going to talk to you about branding a little bit and lifting yourself to a higher level in your brand. Write down some questions that you want to listen for and prepare for. You want to learn how to speak. I'm sure Andy Harrington's going to talk about public speaking. So you're going to write down there, hey, there's Anthony Moyle. Hey, Anthony, you're going to write down some things you want to learn about public speaking. I know I'm going to be talking a lot about building income, specifically passive or leveraged income. So you don't have to trade your time for money. I want you to write down some learning objectives about that. And you'll find that if you come prepared, you're going to find that you can get far more out of it than just sitting there saying, I wonder what's going to happen today. You come with a goal. You come with a mission. By the way, this is something that one of my mentors told me about meeting multimillionaires. He said that you never show up at an event without some ideas of what you want to accomplish. Right? So you don't just show up willy-nilly hoping you're going to meet somebody. You know who you want to talk to. In fact, I'll tell you, even with big events like this, many of my students, they already come to the event knowing they wanted me. They came because they wanted that thing that I'm going to be able to give them. They come with that goal in mind. So set some goals. What do you want ahead of time? And by the way, the other thing I can tell you from one of my mentors I thought was absolutely brilliant. He says, you'll never do $1 million deal at a $10 breakfast. Meaning that if you surround yourself with people who are small thinkers, low thinkers, holding you back, thinking at a little level, you'll never be able to rise high. If you want to, you know, fly with the eagles, you can't cluck with the chickens. You need to rise. You need to level up. So one of the fastest ways you can do that is actually come with some goals, come with some objectives, and let's call it like it is. Let's be honest for a minute. I guarantee there's going to be some speakers there selling a program. It happens every event, right? We know this. So make some plans already. Don't just say, oh, I'm going to leave my credit cards at home and I'm not going to buy anything. You're foolish if you do that, because the only way you'll expand and grow is actually through an ongoing relationship with some of these people, or people like me. So make a commitment right now saying that when that guy comes to the stage, if he makes sense, I'm buying that program because I want to learn about that. Come already in mind, not just your pre-event preparation, but what will you do after the event? Right? Because I don't want to fill your head with knowledge. I want to fill your life with results. That's the difference. You can get knowledge anywhere. You've heard this idea that education is the highest investment you can make. I'm going to say that's kind of true, but it's also incorrect. What is the highest investment you can make? It's applied education. It's implementation. It's to do it. And so when you come and you sit there and you take notes, you know, we all know that you've heard that, you know, you take notes, you come home and your self-help becomes shelf-help the minute you get home. You never look at those notes again. You don't want that. You want to change your life, then that means you have to get involved, right? For your life to change, you have to take action. And so my advice to you is make a plan for what you're going to do after the event as well. Right? And if there's people that you resonate with, if I resonate with you, if you want what I can do for you, then you must follow that course of action to take a relationship away from that, you know? And here's the thing that I'll tell you that I'm so excited about, at least with my students, is I will get to know you. You know, anyone that enters into sort of our arena with our students, we end up having a minimum of a 5-year relationship with them. There's a few of my students that are, in fact, even on this call. They can attest to that. We look out for you. We take care of you. We want to make sure you succeed. I'm definitely interested in seeing my students succeed, because what is it? A master is only as strong as his students are. And if the students suck, you can pretty much guarantee what the master has, right? So just set that goal, like level up your life. I see you're typing something.
You know, and yeah, I'm just typing, and I'm just putting on there so people know. Is what I've been doing is why Doug's been talking. You know, we're talking about the empowerment weekend, and for any of you that have actually been hiding in a cave over the last couple of months, it's very much that we're talking about the empowerment weekend coming on the 2nd and 3rd of February at the Islet Hotel at Earls Court in London. It's going to be a massive event. We're talking about over 45 speakers that are going to be there from all across the world. It's going to be absolutely amazing. Now, we don't just say from us it's going to be amazing. We've heard from so many other people, including people like Doug. You know, and all the times, I mean, how long have you been speaking for, Doug? How long have you been on the circuit for?
Oh my gosh, I started in the 90s. I can't even remember.
Okay, so you're talking
put it this
over
way,
20 years.
My first movie came out 11 years ago.
Okay.
So I've been
so over,
a while.
yeah, so over 20 years, and this is the first time ever in Doug's life has he actually been to something as big as this, having this many speakers and actually giving you this amount of information that you're going to give. So it's very much what you're going to receive, sorry. So it's very much, it's like getting yourself there, and exactly what Doug was saying, and what I was talking with Kleinhans the other day, it's very much come with the right mindset, come with your goals, come with whatever you want you to come with, and your pen and paper, and make sure you take the action at the end of the day, because if you don't take the action, you might as well not bothered, because, you know, you're not going to get anywhere in life unless you actually take that action and move forward with yourself. So what I'm saying to you, for the sake of £24.50 for a minimum payment, you know, that's like £1 per hour for you to actually get there. And Doug, at the end of the day, if you were standing on stage for 30 minutes, are you go, if someone come up to you and give you 50p, you're happy with that?
Exactly. Let me also share just another thought here too. A lot of times people look at people like me or some of the other speakers and they say, oh, I wish I could be like them. And not necessarily speaking on stage, but have the success that they do, have the lifestyle that they do. Well, can I tell you exactly how every single one of us got it? That was actually by learning from someone else. It's that simple. I gained it from 400 of the top achievers that I gained. I know that every other speaker that I've ever met has shared some form of a story. I guarantee you're going to hear more stories like this too, but you have to learn it from somebody else. If you think you're going to do it by yourself, you're going to fail. It's just, there's no way. Confucius, the Chinese philosopher, said that there's 3 ways to learn wisdom. The first, he says, is reflection, but there's limitations because you can't think of something you've never seen before. The second, he said, was experience. And you know that from Malcolm Gladwell, his book Outliers and his scientific study of success, that generally that takes about 10,000 hours to create success in something. So that's a long time. But there is a way to fast track it. There is a way to shortcut it. There is a way for you to get there right away. And it's the same thing that I did or any other success person did. And that's to find someone who's already doing it and imitate it and then innovate on that to make it your own. That's what you're going to have to do. 100%. But unless you have the gas tank or unless you have the gas, you can't drive the car. So you need to come to this event where you're going to get it. I don't care what your dreams are. You're going to find value here for yourself. You're going to, whatever it is you want to accomplish, you're going to find either. And by the way, here's another thing too. The information on the stage is one thing, but some of the contacts and friendships and network that you're going to make in the audience is another. It's incredible. I've had events where I've met people in the audience and it's literally made me millions of dollars, and I'd happily invest $24 every time. Like, here's the thing. Even when my wife and I went and met like Oprah Winfrey or Ellen DeGeneres or people like this, I think for Ellen, I paid $4,000 each to go and meet her. Well, was that a good investment? Yeah, right? So if you're not willing to invest $24 in yourself, maybe the seminar can't help you anyways. But, you know, you need to be able to step up and level up. $24 is nothing to ask. And if anything, it just demonstrates that you have some form of commitment to your own success. So I'm going to suggest that, you know, I mean, here's the deal. Oh, let me share this as an interesting thought too, by the way. Okay, I'm just pulling up one of my credit cards. This is a credit card. Don't look carefully at the numbers. They're my numbers. But let me share with you what this is. Do you know what's interesting about this? Is that a lot of times people, when they see a credit card, they call it a credit card. And if you're one of my students, and if you're on here and you've taken this course before, what do we call these? These are actually investment cards. It's not a credit card. It's an investment card. And if you think very carefully about what an investment card is, the bank has trusted me enough that they are giving me OPM. This isn't even my money. This is someone else's money that they've trusted me to make good decisions. So I'm taking someone's OPM, and you've always heard that's how money is made. We invest OPM, and we put it into something that's going to give us a return. Here is an opportunity to use OPM. Now, here's the dangerous part of this for you guys, is that most of you use the credit card. Let's hold it like this for a minute. And you jump over this every day to make purchases that never provide a return. You're buying tickets at the movies. You're buying a new pair of shoes. You're going out for lunch or dinner. You're doing all this and that. You're spending £24 pounds anyways. So today, all I'm asking you to do is consider jumping over it now for a proper investment that will give you a return. 24 pounds. You're going to spend it anyways, right? Like 24 pounds is.
You're going to spend it even
I
on
think
lunch,
this is one of the most. Yeah. So the way that we become rich, we never save our way to wealth. We always purchase our way to wealth based on the choices we make. We buy assets that give us a return. So your investment option and opportunity today is this. Get yourself there, invest in your education, and what you learn will affect what you can earn, and it will pay you back folds, like exponentially. But here's the deal. If you don't go, you'll never know. And someone else will get the results. I want you to have the results. I want you to be here with us. I want you to be part of this group. And by the way, here's the deal. If you're tuning into this right now, come and visit me privately and say hello, get a selfie with me or whatever. And for being on this particular, let's call this a broadcast today, I've got something special for you. Come visit me, and my team will have something for you. So come see me. I've got a special gift just for you, but you have to be at the event to collect it. Okay. There
you go. So what I want to say to you is, ladies and gentlemen, what you've got to remember is you've got to be there. This is your time. Yeah. You've got to invest in yourself. And many people think about everything else, but they don't think about investing in themselves. And this is the reason why you don't move forward. So it's all about, for sake of £24.50 for a standard ticket. If you want to meet Doug out the back, then come and meet him at the back. £198.50. You know, for that, Doug, if someone comes to that with you and talk to you for like half an hour, you know, you doing your coaching, how much would you normally charge?
Well, first of all, I want to say I don't know if I'll have half an hour at the event.
No, I'm not saying you literally. I'm just saying in general. Yeah, for like a general person like yourself, how much would you normally charge for a half hour's worth of talking to coaching?
We actually generally don't do short one-on-one coaching anymore. You have to be as part of our coaching program, and it's $250,000 US for the year. Let me just then, to meet with me. So if we looked at what that average person is spending, I'm sorry, it's all about calculators, right?
That's all right. You calculate them.
But
so what I'm trying to get to, ladies and gentlemen, why he's trying to work that out is the fact is that for what you're paying, even if you came and paid the £198.50 for the top one to come and see all the VIPs at the back in the green room, there's going to be lots of ones that are going to be in and out all day long over the whole weekend. Yeah, you know, even if you got to speak to some of them, how much does it cost averagely?
Well, for an hour, I just did the math, and this is if you were to meet with me for 52 weeks. One of those hours is about $5,000. But here's the deal. You can't do it anyways, even if you want to. We've got a 3-year waiting list, as I mentioned.
No, and what the point I'm making, Doug, is the fact is that it's £5,000 to come and meet you personally for an hour, right? There's going to be 45 people that are going to be at the back over the space of 2 days, and it's going to cost you £198.50. As well as obviously going and meeting and greeting all the people at the back, as well as coming to the networking event in the evening, and as well as actually having and being there on that day and actually getting all the information you need to get. You think £5,000, 1 hour for one person, when you're normally talking £198.50 for 2 days, and you're getting all that information you can possibly have.
That's a no-brainer, and that's a no-brainer. Here's the thing that I think I've noticed with having now interviewed all the top achievers that are out there, and I've paid a lot of money sometimes to see these people. Here's the deal is, you know that saying your network is your net worth. It's definitely true, but let me explain maybe why is because when you start connecting with these people and reaching out to them, you take that word net and work and divide it into 2 words. Well, that net, part of it anyways, is the safety net that you now have. These are people that are in your network that when you are looking to build a business or build something in your life and you encounter a problem, they are your safety net. They are your solutions. They are your go-to. And when you meet people like this, you build these relationships. I can't tell you how often I've been in the back like green room and I've met somebody and we become best friends, right? In fact, if I look at any of the real top speakers that, funny enough, that I spend time with and friends of mine, people like Bob Proctor or John DeMartini or any of these guys, the friendships actually occur not on stage while they're speaking. They occur in the private moments in the green rooms. And many of these guys, they've come out and they've supported things that I've done, and not even speakers. Like there's also students that have come through there that I've met that have been really amazing people that have either facilitated other introductions or become my friends too. So you never know who you're going to meet in these rooms and how they're going to change your life. So if there's tickets like that available still, if they're available, I would say I wouldn't even have a choice. I would get it. And by the way, anytime there's learning, the way that I do things, me personally, because I still attend seminars too. If there's a VIP ticket available, I will always buy the highest level of VIP ticket that I can possibly get to get the most exposure and access and experience it at the highest level. Here's the deal: is if you have 1 foot in scarcity and 1 foot in abundance, you'll always default to scarcity. So don't look at what you don't have. Look at what you really want. And if you do want to have this high level of experience, you've got to think abundance. You've got to do everything with abundance. You've got to, give it to the universe. What do we say? That the universe is an echo chamber, and what you give out is what you get back. So if you approach it with hesitation, with fear, with doubt, with criticism, with jealousy, with any of these things that are scarcity, you're going to always get scarcity back. But if you produce it boldly, if you show up to the universe and say, I'm here to play. I'm here to play big. I know what's in store for me. I know what I'm worth. I know my brilliance. I know what I could become. I know who I am and why I'm here on this planet. And you show up that way. And when an opportunity comes, you always say, yes, I'm in. Because there's a possibility that this is going to get me closer to where I want to go. Yes, I'm in every single time. Yes, I'm in. You're going to find, like I said, there might be 1 or 2 times where it didn't work out perfect, but it always works out. There's a Zen proverb that says, leap and the net will appear. And I've always found in my life that every time, every time it is
exactly what you're saying just now. I had exactly the same thing. Yeah. I turned around to Brad in July and said, I'm in. And I went and stood on his stage for the first time in August. And since then, it's rolled on that I'm being one of the 12, and I'm doing broadcasting, and I'm obviously interviewing people like yourself. I'm standing on stage in February. But that wouldn't have all happened if I wouldn't have turned around and said, you know what, I'm going to pay £100 to stand on that stage. Even though there's only like 60 to 100 people there, I was like, you know what, I'm just going to do it because I need to move myself forward. And even though at the time it might have been, did I actually really want to pay that £100? Do you know what, whether you do or you don't, it's if you want to move forward, you've got to pay your way to get there. And it's exactly what you just said.
Yeah, and it's possible for anyone. It's possible for anyone. So I'm going to just encourage you to make sure you do it. Just looking at the clock, I apologize. I'm going to have to get going here soon. But I'm looking so forward to seeing all of you guys at this event. It's going to be a very powerful event. I'm so excited to be part of it. And, the one thing that I'm excited to do is to make sure that I can give you guys as much value as I possibly can at this event. Like I said, I'm already planning for a lot of the different things that I'm going to be able to do and bring to the table for you guys. It's going to be an exciting weekend. Definitely don't miss it.
Absolutely fantastic. Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. You've heard it from Doug Vermeeren himself. It's all about coming to the event, taking action, getting your pens and paper out and making sure you're there, whether you can afford the £24.50, whether you can afford the in-between prices, or whether you can come for the £198.50. Come at the back, see Doug, see me, see Brad, see all the other different speakers that are going to be there over that weekend. Because for what you're paying there is a very minute amount of money for what Doug was just saying. You charge you £5,000 for like an hour's worth of work. You're going to be there over a whole weekend. It's going to be an amazing event. It's not to be missed. I've put the link actually in the comments, so you can go straight to that and you click on the link and see exactly what we're all about. Yes, you can inspire to achieve in the Empowerment Weekend, but also you've got the link in there as well, which is that one right there. All you've got to do is look at that. You click on that link and it will go straight through to Eventbrite. Buy your ticket straight away. We've literally got 7 days left. 7 days, not a lot of time for you to get yourself sorted. Bring friends, bring family. At the end of the day, it's what it's all about. It's getting involved and making sure that you're hanging around with 5 people that are going to be up there just as much as what you are. So why don't you bring you and your 4 friends with you and have all 5 of you there and all come up together. It's what it's all about. So I want to say thank you very much, Doug, for being there and for giving as much information you did and spending the time with us, because I know you had a limited amount of time and you've gone way over that.
No problem. Well, we're going to see you guys all in London, and we're going to exceed your expectations there as well. So come join us.
Brilliant. Absolutely. Thank you very much. And thanks very much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining in. And if you are doing replay, go to #replay and give us the questions, answers, anything you want to know, just message me on there. Take care. Thanks very much. Cheers.